Welcome everyone. This is D&D 5th edition House Rules that makes sense. We're going to start off with a tweak to an existing monster. So, I would say what every monster should have is some sort of actual rules that give it its flavor, that make it what it is, above and beyond just more hit points and more damage. I think that's what brings a lot of fun to the game, is that when a new monster comes in and it has some sort of unique attribute, and you've got to try to decide how are we going to deal with that attribute, how are we tactically going to make those decisions, versus every monster just has more hit points or different hit points and it has a different attack. It's just really is kind of lame when that's the only difference between two monsters. So our iconic ogre, I think it's a cool one. It's got a lot of history, but by the stat blocks, it has a single swing, does 2d8 plus 4, which is meh, you know, and then 59 hit points by the stat block. It's okay, but you read the text. The average adult specimen stands between 9 and 10 feet tall and weighs close to 1,000 pounds. I mean, that does not get incorporated in those stat blocks. Basically by the stats, it's just a big orc, or it's just a big bugbear, and it just doesn't make sense, and it just really doesn't work. And then furthermore, so let's read more. Under the section Furious Tempers, when its rage is incited, an ogre lashes out in a frustrated tantrum until it runs out of objects or creatures to smash. I mean, that's awesome. Somebody spent a lot of time to come up with that flavor text, which I think makes perfect sense. It gives ogres personality, gives them flavor, gives them interesting attributes. But why did they not just pull that into the actual mechanics of the game? And this is the house rule that I want to suggest. It's a simple one. Just simply give the ogre the reckless trait, and all of that excellent and correct flavor text that I just read now comes to life in the game. It's that simple. Reckless trait, the ogre comes in flailing as hard as it can with all its strength, wildly swinging, so it has advantage to hit things, but it's paying no mind or any attention to being defensive, and therefore you have advantage to hit it. It's perfect based upon the very text that's written in the monster manual, and it just makes that small change at least gives ogres something that makes them different than just being, say, a big bugbear or a big orc. So I really like it. House rule that makes sense is your classic ogre, which it's a great addition to any little horde army, is to make them reckless. Okay, that's our first one. Have you tried Cobalt Helper? It's a handy D&D 5th edition combat tracker and random encounter generator. Simply go to cobalthelper.com, click on Go to DM Setup. Let's get a combat going by adding a monster. I get a whole gallery of all the SRD content, but I can quickly look something up by name. Let's get some goblins set up for a little encounter. Simply clicking and adding is taking care of things like automatically giving a unique name. Back to combat, 3 goblins ready to go. All I've got to do is create a session for my players to join. Give it any name you like. That will be unique. Zombie 21 will work. Tell your players to go to cobalthelper.com and join. I've already got Alina joined. I'm going to flip over to Alina now. Alina had punched in Zombie 21 and joined. It's that simple. We can easily see the SRD content for all our creatures and add as many monsters as we need. As soon as we're ready, we hit start, and initiative can be automatically rolled and preserved over rounds. If we don't want to do it that way, I can uncheck here and I can punch everything in. Hit start. Goblin 1 is up, initiative is rolled, and we are off and running. We can easily track effects, which as me as a DM have a lot going on, I can easily forget that Goblin 1 has advantage, or maybe Goblin 3 is slowed and is disadvantage. Likewise, the combat effects showing the bloodied effect that Alina is hurt, or monsters, and also in this case, I can turn that off if I don't want my players to have that visual cue. As soon as my goblin is done, I hit advanced turn and the tracker continues. From the player's perspective, they're seeing a nice track of all the creatures in order. Goblin 2 is up, Goblin 2 is bloodied, and everyone can remember that Goblin 1 has advantage. Me, as the DM, don't have to remind everyone or accidentally forget. We got a nice dice roller. Hit roll. In a rolls of 5. It's broadcast to all the players and DM watching. And the last thing that's really great is our random encounter generator. Dial in the correct challenge rating for your party. Decide what you want to create by monsters or terrain. We're going to do undead as an example. Hit generate. Get a nice horde of undead that's appropriate for my party challenge rating. Every time I click it, it's random and different. And it's not something weird like a goblin and a zombie. Automatically added to the combat area over here. And I am ready to roll. So really quick, really easy to get your combats going and even randomly generating one. Give it a try. It's totally free. If you like what you see and you'd like to promote more, buy me a coffee is a link you can click. And thank you very much. Okay, our second house rule that makes sense is around an adjustment, a tweak to a weapon. So it's always bothered me that the D&D designers, they have a whole page of different weapons, but when you get down to it, there's really just a handful that makes sense to take. There's a lot of entries in there that it's like, why would I take this? Obviously, maybe if you just want flavor, but it just seems like every weapon, they just didn't do a very good job of giving each weapon meaning. There's a reason why you might want to use a battle axe versus a warhammer or versus a longsword, and it's very much lacking. But without getting into trying to redesign a whole set of weapon properties, which is just a rabbit hole, I have a simple house rule that at least gives one weapon that I wanted to call out: the humble spear. It is a historical weapon used by many a soldier and valiant fighter that I think is just very much underrated in D&D. It's under the simple weapons category. I really think there should be a reason that every fighter might want to choose to take the spear. And so why would that be? What is a spear? A spear is a relatively long pole with a short sword on the end. So what does that get you? It lets you reach out and strike your foes. It's that simple. Simply giving the spear the reach attribute makes it much more interesting and a viable option that a fighter or any martial class might actually choose it. And it just makes perfect sense to me. So making it much more of a tactical option. Again, this is my theme. I always want to making players think, giving them options that make sense and actually have some kind of meaning. It's a simple change, and it just seems so natural that you give the spear the reach attribute. Okay, so that's my house rules that make sense for today. We'll see you next time.